writing, while understanding the past, we generally tend to forget or to block out. So let's call it block out. We try to block the figures, the episodes in history, or even the dynasties, pretending as if they did not exist or they did not contribute. And it always has two sides to the same coin. Some are deliberate, probably some are not. But again, who decides what is intentional, what is unintentional? Cherry picking or being selective, trying to keep something which fits in with my narrative, that becomes cherry picking. I speak about, and on the basis of the narrative that I create, I try to choose the facts that are available in history that suit me. It is called cherry picking, and it is conveniently adopted by many historians. Muslim of historical system. I think I've just given a few names, but yes, somehow you see with there is a definite shift in the approach towards the understanding of history. When we studied, we never considered or we were told categorically that epics do not fall under or they are not being covered under the genuine facts of history. And history is nothing but a narrative based on historical facts. Historical facts, they do not speak for themselves. And while engaging with that, we never consider epics, our epics, the bedrock of our civilization, our culture, the Indian civilization, we never considered it to be hard facts. But with the passage of time, now it has been very wisely added in terms of what as living traditions which do form a part of the historical narrative. The books that I have just given were just reference, just to put the point that you have Amit Tripathi writing about the Siddharth trilogy, Nagas, the Immortals of Meluha, you have Vaiputra, you have book on Ram, Sita, you have book on Ravan, then some books by Chitra Devkaruni Banerjee, where she writes about the forest of enchantment, talking about or looking at the Ramayana through Sita, then the book where she talks about Palace of Illusions on Mahabharata, where she looks at the story being approached from the point of view of Draupadi, then you have Rani Bhingan, the fifth queen. Kavita Kane wrote or writes about Karn's wife. The characters of personalities in the epics who have not got their due in the narrative. Sita sister about Urmila, Aditi Rao writes about Shakuntala, Amit Majumdar writes about Pitayane, Vaisudin Ramayana. Namita Gokhale writes about Radha, Veera Mukherjee writes about they, cuts across all the ages. Arshia Satar writes about Ramayana and Anand Neelchandra, he writes about Ravan, Asura. There is a definite shift towards popular history and increasingly, in fact, there is a very thin line which is getting blurred and at times also is non-existent. Academic history, where you have professional historians who are equipped with a professional degree, with competence and ability, and now you find them being treated with strongly opinionated and enthusiastic amateur who is at times ideologically not for a popular style of history based on sources of debatable topics. Which can always be contested. In most cases, there are attempts to cater to the allegorical view. There is not nothing wrong in constructing history, and it is not necessary, it is not essential that only one with a professional degree can only comment on construct the history. Anyone with a intellectual bent of mind and interested, enthusiastic, willing to go the distance in trying to engage with the past can write honest history. Social media platforms, Dilip sir has already covered all this. It started when the computers came only late 70s and 80s, with many viewing them as unnecessary, superfluous. They were considered machines, and their capabilities then we thought it was limited. But more the system has grown, the more connected the community has become. Some of the figures that I gave and also given here, blogging, the America Online, 52, Classmates, Trendsetter, MySpace, LinkedIn. In fact, now is the time when actually Facebook and the social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, or Tumblr, Snapchat, WhatsApp, TikTok, all these have actually revolutionized social media platforms. In India, of course, it has been of very recent origin because mobile phones, not many had access to it, and with the smartphones becoming easily accessible or easily affordable, now for the last decade or so, accessibility and connectivity has had phenomenal numbers in India. The figures were given by Dilip sir about whether it is how many billion social media users are there, Facebook, how many crores, 270 crores, or WhatsApp, 200 crores, Weibo, and all these have, of course, result in instant connectivity. The wider reach, right? Now it is a fact that no one owns an opinion. No, one can have an opinion and also share it, post it, and instantly get reactions from it. Earlier, it was always rumors and gossip, and social media is also one of the mediums through which we tend to gossip, rumor, and gossip and indulge in rumor mongering. There is instant connectivity, and which is huge rich. The medium is constantly changing and evolving. But whether we approve of it or we do not, it is definitely here to stay. It is going to stay, and it is not going to stay still. It is continuously evolving. As such, when we do not need to join, most people do not have enough time to even engage in all these platforms, but definitely we do take interest, we do engage ourselves and try and fit in with our interest. Incitement, crowdsourcing, subversion, these are also possible through this instant connectivity. Rewriting of history. With the availability of easy availability of information on social media platforms, rewriting of history definitely has been done. Whether it is by the historians or scholars updating the assumptions, or even activists who are trying to reframe the record of the past, or even politicians trying to reframe or rephrase or even rewrite a collective memory to suit their aims. But a wave of brazenly false or misleading historical revision from democratic and authoritarian governments alike may be threatening an already weakening sense of a shared accepted narrative about the past. We do have an accepted or accepted narrative about the past. And it is definitely going to contest and definitely going to weaken things that we share, and definitely it's going to weaken the views that we have about certain events, certain historical occurrences, which we consider to be genuine and uncontestable and authentic. The trends that we see because of the interplay of construction of history and the availability of the social media platforms. The first is the trend the scholars believe reflects some of the century's defining forces. Yes. One of the defining forces or few of the defining forces that we see now. One is most of the countries in the world, we have now polarized societies, which are now receptive to identity and affirming falsehood. Whether we like it or not, that it has become an universal development. Whether it is in America, whether it is in England, whether it is in Russia, whether it is in India, almost all countries are now being polarized. And there is a collapse of faith in central institutions of British history. There is a rising of assertive or muscular nationalism. Experts or autocrats are growing careers, using new and sophisticated means of influencing the minds of the targeted. Elected leaders are turning increasingly towards illiberalism or system illiberal and also at times intolerant. And there is bound to be historical revisionism in this kind of a trend that is coming up with the construction of history when being exposed to the new social media platforms. Because there is a lot of story, a lot of narratives which are being posted uncontested. Concepts and terminology, I just said about revisionism. Revisionism in historical terms is the reinterpretation of a historical account. Something happened in the past and we try to reappraise, make a reappraisal of that particular historical account. The revision of the historical record also reflects new discoveries of facts, evidence and interpretation, which then result in a revised history. In dramatic cases, revisionism also involves a reversal of older moral structures. I am just making a passing reference because I I suppose Dilip sir would be more informed on this particular aspect. And Death of the Author, which was started by or was advocated by Roland Barthes, it was in mid 20th century literary criticism. Generalists and specialists, collective heritage, reconstruction of imaginary past. We all have, as a collective society, we all have a heritage we all share, and how it is to be reconstructed, and we also have competing narratives which also talk about how historical events took place. And there is bound to be some kind of contestation when we talk about cultural of collective heritage or collective social construction of the past. In some places, the goals are sweeping to re-engineer society, starting at its most basic understanding of its collective heritage. Here I'm just giving one example on quotation of Li Jinping, who repeated a 19th century Confucian scholar saying, to destroy countries, you must first eradicate its history. So something that is inconvenient or something which is unpleasant and it is inconvenient to us to remember, to witness, one should always try. But this is possible when you live in illiberal society, not in a representative where it has to constantly engage with past with multiple narratives. Often the goal is seemingly more pattern to provoke rage or to try in a way that will rally citizens behind the leadership. Basically politically motivated. The tools, the more sophisticated propaganda aimed at rotation of a question often manifest as a particular sort of historical rewriting. Rather than simply excising or cutting out the disfavored officials or government blunders, it cultivates national pride and collective grievance among society. The cultural identity markers that can be found in the historical events are also emphasized as a part of the strategic analysis. If the governments are not in a position to highlight their achievements, there is always a need to distract the public through cultural identity markers. And that is why you have the concept of or the idea of the insider and outsider. The tools are aimed at is one first one is fake news. I think we are all very familiar with the fake news. It has now become an industry manufacturing and taking misinformation, and because of the media, it the social media platforms have become a virtual dumping ground of the fake news that is manufactured and marketed. Emotion-driven information, something called post-truth. It is always something which is partially correct, not exactly truth, but something that is more aggressive to the emotions of the people. Counterfactuals or selective amnesia. What if brand of history? What would have happened if this would have happened? Counterfactual. You have a factual narrative, something that has taken place, something that has happened, and you try to pose another narrative, trying to debunk it and to create a questionable create a questionable narrative where you try and pose what would have happened if this had not taken place. And events, normally historical events that are targeted at are the events or historical uh, moments which serve the needs and rules of the present. These tools are aimed at truth, value, and cohesion to hold the society in a cohesive group, to mobilize and legitimize group behavior, and to justify and validate inter-group conflict. It is also the last point is delegitimizing and demonizing the other. I was just referring to the insider and outsider, and then it becomes also easy to delegitimize who is supposed to be the member of the group and who is supposed to be considered as an outsider. These tools that are aimed at also have certain objectives. One is nationalism. In every country now, or mostly, when we actually when our economy was open, we were all worried about globalization, and we thought probably we have a different sort of a world where there will be no provincial or national boundaries, and that probably would not only lead to the limit of peace, but also there will be a free flow of cultural values. But with the rising assertive muscular nationalism, it has contributed to an increasing appetite for stories portraying countries righteous. One country has more righteous and more heroes. And there is a tendency towards a concept of protectionism, where a nation's interest is being projected first. Like Donald Trump talking about making America great again or America first. These are all ideas, ideas to keep the country together and to target a group which can rally and which can provoke, ideas that can provoke or that can hold the group together in a cohesive way. Social media, initially seen as a force for liberation, is likely to help that process, enabling citizens to circumvent traditional media for a crowd-sourced version of truth that mostly appeals to their emotions. Social media has definitely widened the social divide. Although the idea of nationalism has undergone change, it has also, social media has also widened or created a bigger gulf trying to socially divide people. And somehow social media has also been seen. So the more nationalist we have become, or some countries have started distrusting the experts and also institutions. Many institutions which are supposed to have autonomy have been compromised all over, not only in India. There is a social polarization that has come around as a result of the wider access to the social media interacting with the process of historical narratives or perception of history. Social polarization has retained those appetites of a perceived imagined greatness even further. As more and more people feel that their in-group is locked in a battle for racial or partisan dominance, they grow more receptive to versions of history that say they should and will prevail. The fake news has also a tendency to create a creative minority speaking or creative minority versus a dominating majority. Now it has also engaged, it is been engaging for the sake of instant fame or TRP or so-called celebrating points. And social media is also now busy in justifying what is saying. If today we are talking about this, it is because it is an idea which has self-value, or it is current, it is contemporary, and it is relevant. It is now marketable. That is why we are discussing this topic. Democracies are becoming strong simply by numbers and appealing social media mostly appealing to group identity, race or religion. There is a tendency to unsubstantiated vilification of people. The social media has become an instrument of hate, intolerance, and public censure. I don't think I need to explain this. It has decontextualized a historical event. The idea of cancelling someone or some idea has become a favorite pastime on the social media platforms, leading to a tendency of cancel culture. There are vitriolic trolls, the so-called troll army. You say something which is not acceptable to a group, they start abusing you on the social media platform. There is a false sense of invisibility. You hide behind a facade. Well, you create an image, you give some stupid sounding name, create an identity of your own, log in, have a password, and then you start using the platform. There is a sense of invisibility. I think uh, that is where some people think they can do anything and everything and get away. And slowly things are heading in the correct direction where even the system is trying to look for how to raise these cases. Recently, I think Bully by App was something that actually disturbed the social media platforms where the police had to look for the people in abusing these liberties that are granted on these social media platforms. Concrete examples, I think there is a tendency to appropriate certain national icons, just cited some new names. but there will be many more. We have Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Up and down, he uh, comes to the public space and gets to know about him, gets to engage about him, talk about him, start a conversation. Bhagat Singh, Sardar Patel, B.R. Ambedkar, and there is also a tendency to demonize big leaders whom one does not approve of. Of late, obviously, the unfortunate victims have been Gandhi and Nehru. Continuously, we get to come across posts which try and deride these national icons. And obviously, what if brand of history or science intellectuals do get posted very frequently in the social media? One is Nehru was PM, Nehru was PM, Nehru remained as the Prime Minister of independent India for 17 long years. And obviously, there are many events or historical moments where probably people do judge that things could have been better, whether it was in our war with China in 1962, or even the Kashmir crisis, or even the very idea of partition. All this, whether Nehru was responsible or not, but there is a selective cherry picking where we selectively try and pick what we wish to use, which fits to our narrative, whether we approve of Nehru as the Prime Minister or we are critical of him, depending on which side of the fence we are. We try and use the data that is available in social media and also in the book to create a narrative and to influence opinion. The concrete example, Sardar Patel, are just given one example here. It is often talked about and debated that even though majority of the state Congress leaders opted for Sardar Patel as the Prime Minister destination, Gandhi was unfair to Patel and chose Sardar Patel as the Prime Minister. The question here is what was their relationship? I mean, relationship Nehru and Patel. That these kind of present posts try to provide. Was there a competing rivalry between Nehru and Sardar for the post of Prime Minister of India? And why is it Gandhi being projected to be partial towards Nehru? Sardar Patel happened to be his provincial mate, he was from Gujarat. Did Sardar Patel really feel the way the new historians trying to present? Was there any misunderstanding or rivalry between Sardar Patel and Nehru? And secondly, what kind of attitude and approach did the Sardar have towards the unseen politicians who were trying to associate him to try and emphasize on the historical wrongs done to Sardar Patel? And Sardar Patel is perceived to have been neglected as a historical icon, and more of public space in the national movement is provided to or accorded to Nehru and Gandhi. The same is about Netaji Subhash Bose. There are many such instances, but I'm just giving one more example. Of late, there is a lot of emphasis put on the Indian National Army, Azad Hind Force, and its role in the attainment of Indian independence. Or to put the other way, its contribution in compelling the British to keep India. I think we all were fed with the data that it is through non-violence that India attained independence, through the non-violent, non-separation movement of non-violence. And we all Indians took pride in being a nation which believes in peace and non-violence, nation of Gandhi and Buddha. But now you see there have been a lot of posts which question about the uh, peaceful and non-violent methods adopted by India. Here, when people talk about the emphasis that is put on INA and what role it plays, obviously there has to be some ground for that. There is enough evidence to prove that uh, Subhash Bose did play or contribute towards the end of the British rule in India. All through, but the Subhash role or contribution of Subhash was not beyond that. All through the 20s, 30s, and 40s, she was played a major role in the formation of independent media. Yet socialist leadings and left leadings and with Nehru had formed the forward bloc, which remained in an alliance partner of the next one government in India was formed at the time. Except for the last phase when both joined the fascist bloc, she was an acceptable face in the nationalist struggle. And although Gandhi and Nehru had reservations about both joining the fascists, both Nehru and Gandhi were vocal in the opposition of the fascists. They had due respect for each other. The differences that have been projected in the social media is just from a selective understanding of the past. One can always question the motive behind the protection of these kinds of posts or these kinds of ideas to influence the public. Now the concerns of social media like to engage and how the interplay of the social media and the construction of history, how it is going to have problems for the people using social media. One is privacy. One cannot just post something and expect to be invisible. And data that we share can be accessible and not also there is definite risk of security threat, and there is no more, even though there is a concept of invisibility I was talking about or facelessness, yes, it is for a time invisible, but the system can always get that appeal. And social media also becomes a tool or a medium for creating panic. Instant connectivity also has its dark side, the negative side of creating panic and confusion. Also, overuse of these mediums also can affect the mental health. It becomes an addiction, and that is why young people who are now become more and more frustrated. Right? Uh, their attention span is reducing drastically. Social media, how and to what extent can impact a semi-literate population of India? Because you see, in the literate and the educated professionals are also falling to the social media, the information that is available on social media. So how an illiterate or semi-literate population is going to be impacted by the information that is fake news or disinformation that is being present on the social media. People not willing to understand the past. Generally, now there has been a tendency, there is a growing trend that people are not willing to understand the past. They are not going to study many books to understand why something happened and why there were so many other alternatives and why a particular decision was taken. But they want to promote their understanding of the past. They're not willing to understand, they're not willing to take a balanced opinion or view of why things happen, and they're trying to promote only the narrative that they wish to promote. The last, I think, last but one slide. First one is how does one deal with the platforms that are used to life? Is there any looking back or looking away? In the beginning only I said ideas if rich cannot be killed. You cannot kill an idea. It will surface if time has passed. Social media, Ken Panikkar says, a famous historian, says social media is a plane without a pilot. No one knows what kind of irreversible damage it can, and no nation or no society should gloss over inconvenience and inconvenient truth. And this is again we try and gloss over it or trust it under the carpet. It is going to haunt us again and again. It is going to come back and in a more adverse form. or negative thoughts, which may not be easy to tackle. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I have finished my presentation. I would be very happy to answer your queries.
Thank you, Professor Suryakant Nath. Thank you for your wise and very informative deliberation. I will now request Professor Pradaravinda Vishwashar to coordinate and moderate this question answer session. Professor Pradaravinda Vishwashar, are you here? Hello,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Professor Pradaravinda Vishwashar.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
you
I'm
now
audible.
coordinate the question answer session. Yes.
Sir, so good afternoon, everybody. So today we could able to know about the history and in this present context of social media presented by Dr. Suryakant Nath. Thank you, sir, for your illustrative and very informative presentation. So now the question is, or the topic is open for discussion. Any other attendees who have any queries or any question in their mind, so please ask to our esteemed research person, Dr. Nath, so that we will be able to know more things about the history and the present in the present context of social media. Any other question from my learned attendees?
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir. Yes, yes. Ask the question.
So my question is, as our topic is about history in the age of social media, so I just want to know that what is the difference between the history of social media and what is the difference in history in the age of social media?
Dr.
Could you
Nath,
please
sir.
repeat your question?
Sir, my question is, what is the difference between the media and what is history in the age of social media?
History in the age of social media and history.
In social media, history of social history in the age of social media.
There is no difference. It is one and the same. History in the age of social media, obviously it is different from history of social media. History of social media is only talking about the social media, how it came about and in which year, in which decade the developments came up in the use of social media platforms. And history in the age of social media obviously means how we see what kind of changes and how social media has impacted the construction of history. Because we are now flooded with information which is easily accessible. Information at times which is not easily contested. And information that is debatable, which is not reliable, because in social media whatever one is trying to dump, that is why I said a lot of misinformation is being dumped. So how does one distinguish? And that is where a professional historian or a competence level of the historian or the ability of the historian to distinguish comes into play. And that is where the one can easily, if one is informed and one is educated, one can always distinguish between something that is genuine, partially genuine, or totally fake. I suppose I am clear.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So any other
Sir,
question?
Good
Yes, sir. I have
afternoon,
a
sir.
question, sir.